Hey, hey, Blue Table fans! Hold on. Circling the globe. Pacific Rim. Eastern Europe. And it's back. Shockwave of happiness worldwide for all of you. Wow, that's been a while, huh? All right, I am going to, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. This is going to be, it's going to be potentially really a pretty long ramble. By the way, I got some new glasses. In fact, yeah, so I go in there, gonna get my eyes checked. The guy's like, hey, it's looking good. But he's like, hey, you need bifocals. I'm like, no thanks. So I go, and so after you get your eye test, they're like, hey, you could buy this really cool graduated pair of glasses for $600. I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna take 10 pairs of the $60 ones. So anyway, I didn't really, but here you go. So this is another one that I got, which I love. And there you go. Oh yeah, I can see that. It's 11 times better. Wow. Okay, I don't know why I started with that. Hey, let's talk about 40K. So first off, I haven't played a game of miniatures battles in like 6 months. It's crazy. I gotta get people up here. And you'd think in Salt Lake, there's like a zillion, I mean, it's a capital city density. But you know, Salt Lake is, you know, let me rewind just a little bit. Those of you that follow the channel, I started in 2007 and I was in Spanish Fork. So if you look at Utah, there's like there's two valleys near the top, which are predominantly the settled areas of what is really a giant desert. And, you know, the pioneers came and they found scrub. And so anyway, the southern valley is called Utah Valley, and that's a little bit more of a rural area. And the Blue Table studio was in Spanish Fork. We had 4 studio locations. And then now we're up north and in Salt Lake, which is fantastic. The labor pool here, you know, for artists is, it's fantastic. So much talent in this area. So anyway, where's I going with all that? All right, well, sorry. I was going to talk about 40K. Oh yeah, I haven't had a bat rep in a long time. And so, yeah, there you go. Busy running the company. But today I'm doing one. I'm doing Age of Sigmar with my son, Jonah, who you will meet. And he's taller than me. I don't know if I mentioned that. I don't know. I like saying it for some reason. So let's talk about 40K. And because I keep abreast of the news more or less. I'm about 80%. You know what a great place to go for all that is Bell of Lost Souls. That's kind of been my favorite over the years. I got to tell you, they've done a pretty good job with their content, and especially, you know, when it's all about actually doing something. Which, back to me, my YouTube channel, I have put maybe 1 video a week up, and that's down from a historic 14 a week. In fact, if you go back and look at it, for a long time I was running at about, what was it? About 700 videos a year. And not great quality, but definitely consistent. And so I'm inspired now to pick that up again. We'll see what happens. So 40K, 8th edition is coming. Everyone's holding their breath. It's the same every time they do a new edition. I started in the late 90s with 2nd edition, and I think Rogue Trader is the 1st edition. That was really like a skirmish game. So it's interesting because things are really coming back around to the skirmish game. And I think I may talk a little bit about that. I may talk a little bit about life too. You might just learn something. Okay, so anyway, let's see here, 40K. So everyone's kind of holding their breath for 8th edition. You know, what's it going to be like? And I totally get that. It affects my business though, because people don't really invest in an army not knowing what's gonna happen next. But 7th edition is still going so strong that, and that's what's interesting, is like, will they make, because normally it's like, here's the editions, and then the new edition comes along, and it's just a little bit, it's a little deviation, maybe a little bit like that. It's a lot. Like 5th edition was like really, they introduced a lot of new concepts to the game. But if they go like this, if it's too strong of a split between how this was and how this is, then you're going to end up with basically an Age of Sigmar split. And of course, Age of Sigmar, guess what? It didn't go away. It's going strong. I just checked the Caradron faction, which is kind of the steampunk dwarf thing they have going on. And it's all sold out. So good for you, Games Workshop. You're just putting out good product, and I think that's really going to speak to their continued long-term success. And I certainly wish the best for any company. And so anyway, that's what is going on with 40K right now. And quite frankly, I grew up. Well, I guess when did I start playing miniatures battles? Let's see, 79. Yeah, I was in my 20s. Yeah, I've been doing this a long time. Yeah, in fact, 20 years. 20 years this year I've been playing miniatures battles. Awesome. Started with Eldar. I bought $55 worth of metal aspect warriors from a friend of mine. I remember stripping them, and then I primed them with gloss black primer. Not even primer, just gloss black paint. I was like, all right, well, I want them to be shiny. Let's start off with some gloss. Oh no, it was terrible. My very first paint kit was Tester's enamels. Ah, can you imagine? Oh, so bad. And really just self-taught through the years. And just as a side note, I've been really fortunate with Blue Table Painting to have some really talented people come through who, I mean, have just breakthroughs in how to go about this process. And I think Blue Table Painting is probably creeping up on about 1,000 armies finished lifetime. That's a lot of armies, guys. And right now, in terms of like to finish them off, maybe, let's see, you're probably about 15-ish armies if you glom them all together. So that's like currently in production. All right, let's continue. So 40K, I predict, because 40K has always been like 70%, possibly even more of what Games Workshop does. I don't think they're going to mess with it that bad. I mean that could be huge, because there's like this time investment to get the I guess I don't like to say community, but to get the existing base to sort of come over to a new idea. And it's like, and with Warhammer Fantasy, they didn't have much to lose, and they really had the time to do it. And it took about 2 years to finally be like, okay, Age of Sigmar is not going away. It's really cool. There's a new base sort of coming in. All right. I thought I heard one of my sons coming through. So anyway, so predictions for 40K, they're not going to mess with it that bad. People are going to come around faster this time. And I predict that the changes to it won't be more than 4th to 5th edition. And if they are, it won't be that much. It won't be that much more. But frankly, please change up the morass that is the existing rule set. It's all over. Like, I've been following this for many years, and at least peripherally sort of, you know, paying attention. There's just, how do you start an army? It used to be you bought your army book, and that was what you had. You built your army out of that book. That's what you needed. And now it's like data slates, supplemental things, one-offs that maybe come in the boxes. What is it? All the supplemental books. And it's just like that was a cash cow that just couldn't be passed up. You know, getting a hardback book done for $5 in China, sent over, and then selling it for $50. I mean, and it's great production value, but I think I read an article where it was like it's $2,500 and rising to buy all these books. And if you think about it, if you're really going to be tournament competitive, you got to study up on all that stuff to think of like, okay, what could my opponents be bringing? So I'll, you know, in the heat of the event, I can know exactly what they're doing without saying, okay, hold on, I got to look up to make sure you're doing this right. And so, to my mind, it's a problem. 40K is so top heavy right now, and I hate to say it, but I don't even want to play it because it's like, it's too much, man. You know, you got your beer and pretzels guy over here, and you got your hardcore tournament player. Like, he's going to buy a couple plane tickets a year to go do his thing, which is great. Both work. I'm all for it. But, you know, I'm kind of over here in the scale. I'm coming up. I'm about maybe 25% the way there, where for me, it's like I want to have a casual game with some friends, and I'm good to go. I don't pay attention to all this meta stuff. But I do see it because most of my clients are people who play to some extent, at least in that 50% range of competitiveness. And so when I see stuff coming through the studio, when I see, you know, Riptides and Ghost Keels coming through a lot, well, guess what? I know what's good, quote unquote. So anyway, so that's what's going on with 40K and what I think about that. I'll be eager. So I'll be eager for the end of the year to be here because then 8th edition will have been released. People will have, so you have early adopters when the new release comes out, and they, you know, they're just ready to go. It's like, I got my new 8th edition book. I spent the night reading it. I'm ready to, you know, start my new army. Awesome, let's do that. And then you have like this, a little bit of a slump where it's like everything's being digested, and it takes 3 to 6 months for that to happen. And then you enter like this golden era of the edition. And 7th edition has had a really good run. I think it's a great edition. But with how powerful the tournament scene is, oh, it's gonna be rough. If there's a split, it's gonna be brutal, absolutely brutal. You couldn't have half of tournament organizers doing it one way, sticking old school, and then the other one adopting the new thing. That's just gonna be, that's going to be land of confusion. So I would love it. My sort of one item on my wish list is to focus back to the one army book for the army. And in fact, how they've done it in the Age of Sigmar has actually, I think, really worked out. At least for me, I love it. So they created 4 factions and put keywords into models, and that's actually worked really well. So do you want to play, so you don't necessarily play, you know, ogres or orcs, you play destruction. And if you want, inside of that really big army book, like chaos, let's say chaos, inside of that huge army book is beastmen, skaven, demons, warriors of chaos, I think a couple other things, and they've, you know, so that's your army book. And that's like, I can handle that. It's an army book with a bunch of entries. Like, for example, back in, I think 2010, it was, the new Tyranids came out, and that army book went from 17 entries to 37 entries. They just added all this stuff to it. And that was like great. It was like a smorgasbord of just, you know, blah, all this new stuff. Great. I can digest that. And so I think going from, you know, 40 entries to 70 entries for like a book like Chaos, it's all right. It's all right. It's not too much to handle, and it organizes things nicely. Even like 4 factions. So that'd be interesting if they really did follow the pattern of Age of Sigmar. And the thing is, now since they did Age of Sigmar, there's a problem now because, I mean, before it was like you had weapon skill, ballistic skill, toughness, strength, initiative, and they all kind of worked the same in both systems. If you knew one system, you could learn the other system pretty quick. But how close are they going to make 40K to Age of Sigmar so they like kind of feel the same? Or are they going to be 2 completely separate